This episode and every episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show is brought to you by Ironmonger Brewing. Visit Ironmonger at their tap room in Marietta, Georgia, or online at ironmongerbrewing.com.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in Marietta, Georgia. And this week, we're talking with Social Fox Brewing. I am Tim Dennis, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brian Hewitt.
Hey, Mr. Tim Dennis, how are you doing?
Good, man.
So joining us today, we have a bunch of people. We've got Mike Green, CEO of Social Fox. We've got Mark Clafter, and we discussed a number of different titles for you, but what would you prefer? Just partner and owner?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So we'll go with that. We got Scott Norwood, and we've got Craig Smith, who's the head brewer of Social Fox Brewing. I missed what Scott's title was, actually. Well, Scott, what is your title?
Owner, partner, I fix stuff.
Owner, partner, and he fixes stuff.
Yes.
All right. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Their business cards are like the size of a little box of Little Debbie
It's a
cakes.
2x4.
You just got to roll them out there. And Mark's the beer bus driver today, too. He's been keeping our glasses full.
Oh, yeah.
He's been taking care of business, man, so we're doing all right over here. We're doing all right. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We don't have enough mics here, so we're going to do our best to keep this flowing, but we'll just probably yell at you every now and then. But thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
We've been sipping a couple of your beers here. We pre-gamed with one, and we'll talk about these a little more in depth later, but Gold Belt Golden Ale, which I'm not typically real big on golden ales. I really dug this. This was really nice, and it's one of those beers that you can enjoy. You don't have to overthink.
Right.
I'm not looking for the hop profile. I'm just enjoying a drinking beer.
It's a drinking beer.
It's a drinking beer, man.
Exactly.
And if you read the can, we went with beer-flavored beer because we have some customers that come in and it's like looking at all the, fruited Berliners, the IPAs. I just want a beer-flavored beer.
That's it.
And we brewed it true to style, right, Craig? And
yeah, absolutely.
Just kept it simple. And
that's what you got to do. You need drinking beers. And, speaking of drinking beers, we're warming up here a little bit in the South. I don't know if that's applying across the country, but we've seen a little bit of spring here. And have you guys seen like the meme that says the seasons and it's got like 13 things? It's like fall, winter, fake spring, second winter, all this. So I think we're in our fake spring right now.
Oh,
probably
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm looking forward to some warmer weather. As the warmer weather comes up, Craig, are you a seasonal drinker or do you just drink whatever year round?
I'm 100% a seasonal drinker. I've been brewing up and down the East Coast for about the last 10 years. And when I was in South Florida, I didn't drink a stout for 4 years.
Oh, man.
Even though I was brewing them because it's
Sorry to hear that.
It just wasn't stout weather, and,
Condolences.
and when it's cold, then I want a darker beer. I kind of drink, like that Saison or Pilsner.
Sure.
When it's easy drinking and you're out on the beach or, out riding your bike or on a hike, you want something that's lighter bodied. So I don't necessarily enjoy stouts when we don't have cold weather. And some people find it weird because there were a lot of bar owners, even in Florida, that go, oh, beer's beer.
I play both sides of the fence on this. We actually did a show called Stouts Are for Summer.
Okay.
So we had some big
Okay.
ones on there. But I do enjoy when it's really cold, a fireplace, a big stout, a barley wine, a cigar, something like that. When it's getting warmer out, grabbing that, a nice fruited Berliner or something. So
Yeah,
I have it like that.
we even posted on our, I think, Facebook just to get some feedback from customers. And a lot of people say stouts are all season long.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, see?
I'm on
myself
board
get-
with that. It's difficult when your air conditioning is out, like mine goes out frequently, and you're sitting there in a house that's 85 degrees. Sometimes you don't feel like a stout at that point in time when you've been sweating all day, but you got air conditioning. This is the modern world. You can drink a stout.
That's what they said in Florida. But I mean, by the time I got outside to my car, I was already drenched
ruined,
in sweat.
right?
You're
done.
Couldn't even. By the time I get to the bar, I wanted a Saison.
Taste buds are melted. Need a Saison. I got you. It makes sense.
Yeah, we're big fans of Saison.
Yeah,
That's
Mr.
it.
Moore.
we
Mr.
are
Moore is
too.
pretty
Yes,
awesome.
we are. Yeah, I think I'm a seasonal beer drinker as well. I like dark beers, but prefer them in the winter. So I'm ready for some lighter stuff now that things are warming up. Pilsner, the Saison.
Like I said, I kind of play both sides there. When the seasons are there, I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to this, but it's still not going to stop me from having a stout here or a Pilsner.
Especially
in
if
the
it's
winter.
well brewed.
Right, man. If it's good,
good
stuff,
beer is
we're
a
gonna
good
drink
beer.
it. Exactly.
And I can agree with that.
One of my biggest deciding factors in what I am drinking is whether or not I'm going to smoke a cigar with it. And I got to tell you, I do not care for most IPAs with cigars. I think that the hops clash with the cigars. I do like most lagers, and I do like brown ales and stouts, so I will go that route. But if I'm going just for beer, I'll probably go IPA.
IPA.
Almost
Get
all
the
year
hops
round.
there, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Now, you smoking a Maduro or a light? What kind of cigar do you
It depends
prefer?
on the beer, right?
It's true. It does.
But do you find that the lighter ones don't pair well with?
The lighter ones can be overpowered by your bigger beers.
Okay.
I do smoke a lot of spicy Nicaraguans, so they can handle just about anything. But I think it is time for us to get into the beers of the week, Tim.
Now it's time for our Beers of the Week. Brought to you by The Nest. Craft beer and barbecue in downtown Kennesaw, Georgia. TheNestKennesaw.com.
Brian Hewitt, as always, we got a great selection of beers to get into here. As always, we also want to thank the Nest for sponsoring us. We went out, hung out with them last weekend, Brian, for their anniversary, 5th anniversary. If you go down, check them out. 48 taps of craft beer and a pretty nice bottle seller list there, too.
Indeed.
So we are, of course, drinking Social Fox Brews this week. We have had their Gold Belt, Gold Nail. We are currently drinking the Tumblefield IPA. We're also going to have some straight out of Norcross, a West Coast IPA. So Norcross isn't very West Coast, Craig. You know that? So
I mean, we just wanted to pay homage to kind of
I get it. Sure.
an older style from the late 90s, and
It's coming back around.
being a big hip-hop fan, straight out of Compton, Mike came up with a great name, straight out of Norcross, and I just executed the recipe, and fortunately, it's been an amazing success. People have really enjoyed the flavor of it, and I think we executed what we trying to accomplish.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is, if we're not West Side, but just saying straight out of
West
Norcross,
Side?
we could brew a West Coast IPA
Do the West
straight
Coast.
out of Norcross.
Straight out of the 2000s.
Yeah,
That's it, man. Good stuff. Yeah. And Mike, did you say you've got a stout here? Is that right?
I made sure that Marky brought the bourbon barrel aged Scottish ale that we had, because you said you smoke a cigar. I figured
Yes,
maybe
I
a
do.
bourbon barrel aged
Ooh,
would
yeah.
be a nice
Elijah Craig barrels, too.
He also has an Irish stout.
No matter the season,
Heck yeah.
we enjoy a beer like that. Absolutely. Be good stuff. Brian, what's happening this week in the news?
What's in the news? The beer guys have the scoop.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Time for headlines.
Well, Tim, Big Beer just can't catch a break.
Man, again.
Again, AB InBev-owned Platform Beer Company has closed their Columbus, Ohio tap room, at least temporarily, because the entire taproom staff quit on the same day. The reason for the mass exodus, according to a letter taped to the taproom door, is unsafe working conditions and complaints about compensation. In short, the former staff alleges that Platform Brewery did not notify the staff and the public about a case of COVID at the brewery, so appropriate sanitization did not happen where that person was working. They also said there was an extensive black mold outbreak in the cooler, and they're also saying that the taproom staff were made to do work that was typically done by higher paid salaried staff without any additional compensation, and sometimes while they were working by themselves. So they had to run into the kitchen and cook like the chefs did, even though they weren't chefs.
While serving beer, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, predictably, according to Brewbound, the AB InBev spokesman declined to comment because there's ongoing conversations with the current and former employees, so very predictable.
People have complaints with their jobs. There's no job that's perfect.
Sure.
Absolutely. I've even had jobs that I love that you still have bad days. But if your entire staff walks out, that says something. Right, exactly.
There could be a problem
Might
if
be
the
a problem.
entire staff quits on the same day. So.
Exactly.
Researchers have made big strides in expanding our understanding of the hop genome, according to an article on newsmedical.net. Researchers from Oregon State University teamed up with the U.S. Department of Agriculture to publish their findings recently. In it, they sequenced the genome of Cascade hops. And it could be big for both the beer industry and medicine. Insight gained from this could help develop new varieties of hops that are both resistant to diseases and unique in flavor. In terms of medicine, there are compounds in hops that are thought to be beneficial against cancer and other medical conditions, so it could help identify those specific ones and possibly identify new ones.
Good stuff, man. It's fun to learn about hops and what we can do with
Indeed.
them. Well, you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be back very soon with more from Social Fox Brewing.
Have you ever thought about owning your own brewery but don't know what it takes to get one built? We're Storytime Construction, and we build breweries. We're Georgia's most experienced and hands-on contractors when it comes to building new breweries and tap rooms, or expanding existing breweries. We offer full build-outs, remodeling, and additions, as well as consulting and construction management. Give us a call at 770-733-4343. Storytime Construction. We build breweries.
Craft beer deserves craft glass. Thick Boys Glass has curated an online collective of glass artisans around the USA to bring you hand-blown beer glassware. These unique glasses are stylish and durable and have plenty of room to hold a tall boy of your favorite beer. Use code BEERGUYS at thickboysglass.com to get 15% off your order. Thick Boys Glass, that's THICCBOIS glass.com.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand, so if you missed a broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Let's get back to our talk with Social Fox Brewing.
Craig, head brewer
Yes,
at
sir.
Social Fox Brewing. We are currently sipping your straight out of Norcross. I wish we had that sound, the little mix hooked up there.
Yeah,
at the
I
beginning.
got on my phone.
Can you tell us about straight out of Norcross?
It was just kind of a throwback to a vintage style that kind of actually got me into craft beer. You know, like if anyone remembers like Green Flash, West Coast IPA,
Sure.
some of the Russian River. You know, I used to get Pliny
old
the
Pliny,
Elder,
Blind Pig.
Pliny the Younger, Blind Pig, Alpine Brewing, West Coast IPAs. We've kind of gotten away from it with the Northeast style, kind of took all of the caramel malts away from, you know, our IPAs and the ones that we make today with the Session IPA. And now we hear this new stuff with Cold IPA. And so I just wanted to throw some caramel malts back at it, give it a nice crisp upfront bitterness, and give it a nice dry hop profile like we used to do.
And I think you guys mentioned when this premiered in your tap room, the sales are going really well. People want that West Coast out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be canning it soon at the end of the month. We got a fresh batch in the tank. It's on draft in the tap room. The response has been, honestly, like I don't brew beer for myself, and I don't necessarily follow the trends. I just make the beer. So I'm always surprised when certain things, you know, like fly off the shelf, like
Right.
our Wee Heavy that we just had. I was so surprised at how fast that batch was out. I'm surprised that it's been so successful, but it's an excellent beer.
Brian, you've been saying this for a while. People want to see these West Coast again. I think more and more people want to see them.
You get hazy fatigue and the juicy fatigue and the soft fatigue, and you want something that's got maybe a little bit malt, maybe a little bitterness, a little bit of pine. I'm curious with the popularity, when people say they love it, are they saying they love it because it's like a nostalgic beer for them, or is it because of the juicy fatigue, the hazy fatigue?
To be honest, I don't know if it's about fatigue because I've seen customers that are new come in that aren't necessarily or IPA drinkers grab one and enjoy it, or they're just a new customer. They may have had pale ales or IPAs in the past, and they just enjoy that one. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten the opportunity to talk to them about what they specifically enjoy about the beer, but I've definitely seen a wide range of our consumers at Social Fox enjoy the beer. And right now, I can't put my finger on it. That's like going back to what I said, is like I'm always surprised when certain classic styles, you know, we release and people love them because, you know, you get a little cynical sometimes with all the new sours and milkshakes and slushies and all these different crazy things that are going on. And you think people don't want to taste real beer anymore. So when you release like a West Coast IPA or a Wee Heavy or something like that, and you see it fly off the shelf, sometimes it surprises the brewer.
We were talking a little bit earlier during the break about Untapped reviews and that. And there is a Instagram account, I think it's called Untapped WTF. So he takes these screen captures. There's a lot of people that rate IPAs and they'll give them poor ratings and they'll make a comment like there's not even any lactose in this. Like it's just a sin that IPA doesn't have any lactose. So
This is not a milkshake. What
what
on
is
earth?
this? What are
Yeah.
you doing here?
So this is something I'm really big on, and it's educating the consumer, because when you're in a new market, a lot of times you have the opportunity to set that market. You know, I worked at breweries all up and down the East Coast. I was in South Florida working at a brewery, and we brewed a cream ale. And in that cream ale, we put vanilla beans. But a cream ale doesn't have to have vanilla beans.
Right.
So,
Strawberries as well, am I right?
So, you know, you have new consumers coming in, and you're basically setting their style guidelines. So when they come and they see a style that doesn't have what you served them the first time because you didn't explain it or educate them properly, now there's a problem. So we can do better as craft brewers at educating our consumers about exactly what we are doing and presenting to them.
Setting up those expectations. You know, that's something Brian and I have talked about, especially in the Southeast. People's first taste of Goza was Westbrook.
I was about to say the same
which is just
thing. Same
bracingly
thing.
sour.
Yep.
So we had some breweries that did Gozas more in tune with a classic Goza style, and people were like, this isn't sour enough. You know, because their palates had been set up to that
Interesting.
paint remover.
Oh, it's
weather.
sour and
Yeah.
super salty, and
Yeah.
all of them are, lightly sour and just enough salinity to kind of give it some body. And people are like, oh, I can still taste things. My enamel is still on my teeth. What's even going on here?
Over-
Is this even beer?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
I need a Tums when I'm done with one of those.
That's it. I went to a sour beer fest, and they had bowls of Tums everywhere, man. They were prepared.
Yes, they did.
Well,
Yeah.
Craig, you've mentioned a couple times your experience down in a brewery in the South. We're going to call it out here. You were with Funky Buddha for a while, right?
I was.
And was it the Love Below? Was that the cream ale, the strawberry shortcake one?
So Love Below was actually a blend of our two lactose stouts.
Okay, gotcha.
One was in Cabernet barrels and one was in bourbon barrels.
All right.
And that was actually one of the best beers I ever made. It was The
That-
strawberry lactose beer was a happy accident. I had a cellarman make a mistake.
Oops.
And we ended up with a wheat wine instead of a Hefeweizen.
Ooh,
And so
That's a pretty happy mistake, man.
that's a great
yeah.
mistake.
Okay.
So we needed to figure out what we were going to do with that. And once I told the bosses, I figured out what happened. This guy double milled. So we got a wheat wine. And they decided to add some strawberry and vanilla to it and kept up with that. That was the strawberry shortcake.
Okay.
Strawberry
All
shortcake
right.
beer.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yep.
Good stuff. Now, you also have done brewery consulting, right?
Yes.
What's the day-to-day life like for a brewery consultant?
It really depends on when you get a contract or if you're just kind of really being day to day. Sometimes it's the contract setting up a brewery. I had a contract that lasted me 2 years, and I never was able to get the brewery open just due to city ordinances, and they just could not get themselves open. So then you had to move on. It took them. They're open now. They were literally paying me for 2 years.
Couldn't
And
open the
I was
doors,
just
huh?
doing
Yeah.
pilot batches, creating relationships, getting us in beer festivals, doing different things like that. They had some issues with the city, and they couldn't get open. So sometimes things like that happen, or sometimes you just move on. And some people, they get open and they need you for a period of time, and then that person needs to move on as well.
Are you developing recipes, or are you training them on how to brew what they want to brew?
Honestly, it really depends on the scale of where they're at the moment. If they have equipment, then, sometimes it's just brewing on their homebrew equipment, trying to develop recipes. If the equipment arrives while I'm still under contract, then I have the opportunity to train them on the actual equipment that they're receiving. But sometimes that isn't always the case either.
When you go into a new brewery, is there one piece of common advice that you give when you're consulting to these breweries? What's a common piece of advice or the most common that you give to new brewers?
If you don't love it, you better find something else to do.
Yeah, that's pretty sound advice, honestly.
Because you ain't going to get rich.
If you want to make $1 million as a brewer, start with $2 million.
Yeah, right.
Right? Is that the
That
whole
sounds
there?
about right.
That
Yeah.
sounds about
I think they have a
Sounds about
similar
right.
thing in the cigar industry. If you want to make $1 million in the cigar industry, start off with $10 million.
$10 million.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
It's a little
Sounds
bit
like the brewery's
it's
the
a
better
bit
bet
harder
here.
yeah.
Huh?
Get into brewing. It's a little easier.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take another break, but we'll be back very soon with more from Social Fox Brewing. It's Brian and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and Duluth are always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy, Brian. They've got 18 of them.
As for the truck part, that's where it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks, so you're getting a different menu every day.
Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and Duluth.
Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
Cobb County, Georgia is home to 17 unique craft beverage makers. This March, Cobb Travel and Tourism and Fireside Natural Gas bring you Bubbles and Brews Craft Beverage Month. Visit participating locations to get your Brew Pass passport and sample the featured brews. Make sure to get your Brew Pass stamped and cast your vote for your favorites and a chance to win sweet prizes all month long. Celebrate with Cobb's best craft beverage makers throughout the month of March. Get more info now at bubblesandbrews.com.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, WMAY 970 AM and 94.7 FM in Springfield, Illinois. Catch Beer Guys Radio on WMAY every Saturday at 2 p.m. Now let's get back to Social Fox Brewing.
Craig, we talked in the last segment about your background, your consulting, coming up from Funky Buddha. We love Funky Buddha. Maple bacon coffee porter, baby.
Yes.
What's not to love about all of those things? So, but you didn't get to drink it because you were down in Florida and it was too hot, right?
No, I
Yeah,
definitely
see?
drank it, man. I drank our barrel-aged variant, Wide Awake It's Morning,
Yeah,
a bunch
yeah.
of other different versions.
How about
So,
that I'm so excited, I'm so scared?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you brew that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, nice.
Good stuff, man.
I
Good
did.
stuff.
It was appreciated, just to let you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy Saved by the Bell reference. That was what that label was about.
Was that Saved by the? See, I
Saved
didn't,
by
I
the
didn't
Bell,
know
yeah.
that one.
I didn't get it.
I didn't get that reference.
The chick
Missed it.
with the curly hair.
Yes.
She's like, used to go,
Wait,
she
is
drank
that the one where
a
she
bunch of
did some
coffee.
drugs or something?
Yeah, she did a bunch of
Yes.
like no-dos.
Yes. Their drug awareness episode, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was where that name came from.
That's
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
remember that. I actually remember that now. It was kind of a. I hate to say this because of the point that we're trying to make, but it was kind of funny. Well, Craig, we haven't had any no-dos. We've had some. We've had a few beers here, so we're having a good time. But
Yeah.
and you know we're not going to spend too much time on it. But you brewed at Iron Hill for a while, and we just got an Iron Hill Brewery here in Atlanta. Have you been to the one in Buckhead yet?
I have not. I
Okay.
honestly didn't know that they were opening. They when I started working for them 8 to 10 years ago, they only had about 11 locations.
Yeah,
And now they have like 15, and they're expanded into South Carolina. And I saw that they were opening a location here in Buckhead, and I definitely would like to check them
have
out.
to go check it out. Right? Yeah.
I got a lot of my brewing acumen and experience while I was working actually there. A lot of my packaging experience comes from working at Yards Brewing Company.
Okay.
And so I've been able
All
to
right.
combine the two.
You've been with some nice breweries, man. I
Yeah.
mean, Yards, Funky
I've been
Buddha,
lucky.
you know,
yeah,
all
yeah.
this. So
I've been lucky.
Good stuff.
Yards, Iron Hill,
Social
Funky
Fox.
Buddha,
All the
Social
hot
Fox.
Social
breweries.
Fox,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been blessed.
Good
How did
stuff.
you get connected up with Social Fox? Speaking of Social Fox.
I actually have his name's Aaron, and we're kind of virtual friends online, and he is a beer writer in Charlotte, and we just had started communicating.
Aaron
and
Gore. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys know Aaron
Sure.
Gore?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And he knew Dave and apparently linked us up together. And Mike or Kevin reached out, and then we were able to, work it out.
Cool. Good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
Aaron, we're Facebook friends. We chat beer and stuff out there.
Oh, okay. That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
When you came in, we were talking about L Sharpton.
Yeah.
Local Atlanta guy. And you're like, oh, you know L Sharpton? Yeah. We've known L since before we've done Beer Guys Radio.
Long
Okay.
before, yeah.
Long time before that. But the beer communities, especially if you do something like write or do a podcast or a blog or something like that, even if you don't know people, you connect up.
Okay.
In that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Aaron is good about. He shares a ton of info.
Yeah,
he's
does.
very embedded
Absolutely.
in what's going on out
Yeah,
there.
he
for
would just
sure.
hit me up and be like, "Hey, these guys are looking for a brewer. You mind if I share your resume?" And I was like, "Nah, man, go for it." I was during COVID back in Philadelphia with my 2 children because their mother was treating COVID patients. So I was kind of put the pause on the consulting business and was up there with them during COVID, and then this worked out, and we got we're still dealing with it now, but it's a little bit better.
A year of this stuff, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They told us 3 months, and we'd be done with it.
Yeah.
So.
I thought it was going to be happy ending. It's like, yes. And then we cured COVID. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
No, it didn't work out that way. But
Yeah.
Well, Mike, we've been talking here about you guys are coming up on a year,
Yes.
first year here for Social Fox Brewing. What are the plans, man? How are you going to celebrate 1 year in the age of the global plague that we're facing here?
Right, yeah.
So,
No, we're very fortunate to be open this whole year, and we're very excited to be celebrating our 1 year anniversary. So we're working with the city here. We're doing a pre-party on Friday, April 30th, and then the actual anniversary will be May 1st. We're shutting the alley down, so it's going to be totally family friendly. We're going to have live bands, things for the kids, and then Sunday will be a post party.
Are we still doing that cask ale on Friday too?
Yes, so we have different beer releases. So on Friday we're doing a cask ale, right? Special cask ale release. On Saturday we're gonna do a Tumblefield double IPA version.
double Tumblefield, huh?
Yeah,
Double
and
Tumble.
then maybe one that you'll appreciate. We're doing Gold Belts in bourbon barrel, so bourbon barrel aged golden ale.
Bourbon
that
barrel
sounds
aged-
good to me.
That
yeah.
sounds like that'd be a great way to really let you taste the barrel in the bourbon there. The golden
for
ale
sure.
being lighter
Yeah.
the way that is. So
Yeah.
I really like that idea. You mentioned cask ales, and I really thought that was a thing that had been put on the back burner for most people because you don't have a lot of foot traffic into a tap room, so you're not going to have a lot of people drinking off of casks, but you're still doing casks.
We are. We're doing.
What are you putting in that cask?
It's not a full size cask. It's a pen, so it's like
Okay.
5.15 gallon. We kind of look at what we have available and try to every 3 weeks or every 2 weeks see what we have that is available that may work with a cask. We've done
chocolate stout. Yeah,
chocolate stout with cacao nibs from Nicaragua.
Cool.
We've done a dry hopped of our Pilsner in the cask. There's probably one other that we've done that is lost on me.
Oh, the coffee vanilla.
Yes,
the
that we did
Forgotten Fox
yes,
collab.
coffee,
Forgotten
vanilla,
Fox.
coffee and vanilla. Yeah, Forgotten Fox cask we did as well.
The Forgotten Fox, you were talking about that earlier. Is that a white stout? Is that what you said that was?
Yes, I mean I consider it that just because I kind of had rejected that style, like just being a purist. I was like, what the,
Yeah.
a white stout.
what is this? Right.
But then I looked at some like historical brewing records from like, the 1900s, and they were using coffee and vanilla and only using pale malt, and they were calling it a stout. So we kind of just went back to that, and it was kind of like, one of those trendy styles that people were brewing recently within the last few years. And so we just decided to do that and use our pale malt base and add cacao nibs and coffee and vanilla beans to it.
I think it's
Makes
interesting.
sense.
I don't know that we'll ever have a full understanding, or maybe we do, maybe I don't, about, like you said, a stout beer. It didn't necessarily refer to the style as a strength, there. So,
Yeah,
talking
if
about
you look
that.
at like Barclay Perkins, I know
Right.
you guys know
Sure.
about Barclay
Yeah,
Perkins.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
I had found some historical brewing records from Barclay Perkins, and it kind of just gave me like access to be like, oh, okay, this is a real style of beer. I'm okay with brewing it because I'm fairly pure in the way that I try to make beer, even though I do have to make things for people, that may not drink the way that I do.
Right. We went a few years ago. Ron Pattison came through Atlanta, and the English beer writer, he's done a lot of these historical records of beers. He digs up all that, and they brewed a beer. I forget, it was a porter, if I remember correctly, but they did.
So, yeah, I'm trying to remember what that was. It was good.
We got to meet Ron, and we got his book and got it signed, and we got to drink classic beer, and we had haggis and mashed potatoes and gravy.
That's right. We did have the haggis. The first time I'd had haggis in ages. I actually had haggis in Scotland one time many, many years ago.
It was a fun event, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I love people that know more or are smarter than me or both.
Absolutely.
Because I learned, we've had Stan Hieronymus on the show a couple times.
Okay.
He just goes on to stuff that's way above my head. I don't learn anywhere near as much as I could if I had a little more knowledge, but I always learn so much from him about what's out there. And it's just fun to learn about what all's going on.
So it's interesting you being such a purist. I mean, what are your takes on like milkshake IPAs? Are you down with that? Or, I mean, you cringe when you see that kind of thing?
So I actually have a kind of a funny story about milkshake IPA. Because we talked kind of in the segment that I've worked with Gene when we were at Iron Hill. He was starting Tired Hands. And I saw the style and I go, I want to make a milkshake IPA. But I had never had one. I never had his. So I made one and we called it Cow Tippa. Cow
Tippa, TIPA milkshake. I hate to cut your story short, but we're out of time here in this segment. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take another break, but we'll be back with more from Social Fox right after this.
Looking for a great craft beer to enjoy at home? Get your beer to go at the Nest in Kennesaw, Georgia. Choose from their 48 taps to enjoy there with some tasty barbecue and take some home with you for later. Grab a crispy Pilsner, a nice tart sour, or a bold stout to sit by the fire. Just bring your growler in and choose a favorite or two to take with you. It's our beer, your growler at the Nest for your brews to go. Check out the beer and food menus before you visit at thenestkennesaw.com.
Craft beer forged with a reverence for tradition and new styles that start a revolution. Ironmonger Brewing. The brewers at Ironmonger Brewing pride themselves at being masters of barrel-aged, hoppy, and sour beers. They invite you to their tap room in Marietta, Georgia to taste and see. Also visit their barrel room for an intimate drinking experience with great live entertainment. Keep up to date on all things Ironmonger by liking them on Facebook. Ironmonger Brewing, establishing a new standard in craft beer.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. Now let's get back to Social Fox Brewing.
Mike, we are going to talk about collaboration here.
Sure.
But we're currently sipping your dry Irish stout, which 'tis the season, right?
Yep, exactly.
We're not that far off St. Patrick's Day. Enjoying that tasty beer. But talking collaborations, you just did your first collaboration with another brewery in Norcross, Georgia, correct? Anderby?
Right, and we're going to brew that on Monday. It'll be our first collab.
Right.
It'll be their first collab as well. So we're pretty excited about that. And we're kind of neighbors. We're not that far.
You're not that far. The last time we were over in Norcross, we went to both because, like you said, we don't get a chance to get out to every brewery in Georgia that often. So when we do, we try and get as many in the area as we can.
Yeah, sure. No,
kind
that's
of
great.
Group them up, batch them up together.
Right.
That's going to be interesting. Both of you, like your first time collaborating, like you don't have somebody to kind of latch onto. It's like, what do we do now? You know?
No, and it's been a true collab. We went over to Anderby, right? And then from that first meeting, Craig's been working with Preston and we're sharing ideas, mostly Craig and Preston working together.
Yeah, it's been really cool. We're kind of combining processes.
Right.
I won't say too much about the beer that we're going to release, but
what are you brewing? What's the style?
What is it exactly?
Tell us. Don't say you're not going to tell us. Tell us. Break all the news.
It's Imperial Sour.
Imperial Sour.
Berliner.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're going to use Social Fox's kettle sour process. and use Anderby's fermentation and different process. We're going to use the bugs that we use, which Anderby hasn't used yet. He was using bugs from a different place, and we really like our bugs from Omega, so we're going to use those. And he was open to, which is awesome, to open in his brewery and being open to introduce, some new bugs into his brewery and allowing me access to it. We definitely appreciate it. So we're just going to kind of work together on the grain bill with process and with yeast.
And for the non-beer geeks, you're saying bugs. You're talking about the bacteria that you use for the souring, right?
Yes, I'm talking about the
lactobacillus.
Yeah, lacto. It's a blend from Omega.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has lacto and multiple different strains of lacto brevis.
Bugs,
many
man.
strains.
The bugs,
bugs.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll be releasing that beer in cans through Modern Hops, and then we'll do a release party over at Anderby, so it'll be on draft. And then we're going to do a home-to-home, right, Craig? So we're going to follow up with that with Anderby coming over to our place, and we'll brew another batch together.
Cool. We were going to brew the second batch over at Anderby, and then hopefully be able to bring that over to our place and do, another release, maybe a baby version.
A baby version. I've had brewers tell me before that they love collaborating because you get so buried in the weeds at your own brewery, you don't get a chance to get out as much to see all these breweries and all that.
No,
so it gives you a chance to get together with other brewers, right?
I've been here since September, and today
he's been working.
Is the first time.
Yeah, see.
Today is the first time I've been to another brewery.
Okay.
Literally.
They finally let you out.
I
I
went to Anderby to talk to him about the collab, but then today we stopped at Schoolhouse before we stopped over here.
Okay.
And then obviously stopped in before we came to talk to you, just working.
See, man, you've got, well, I tell you what, when it does break a little bit, you've got a lot of great stuff out there.
I see.
Georgia's really grown up, say, the last 5 years or so.
So a lot of good stuff. Finally, an Imperial Berliner, something when you make your cocktail-themed Berliner, it'll be the same strength as the cocktails, the tiki cocktails. Yeah. That's been my one complaint about it. I'm like, you're going with these tiki cocktail beers, but they're not tiki cocktail strength. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking forward to this.
See, and Brian, I enjoy the lower ABV of tiki cocktail beers because I can have more of them than I can the tiki cocktails. So
that's probably true.
Brian's running the marathon there. He's
I think you might enjoy what we're going to do with that bourbon barrel aged gold belt then, if you like cocktails, because
bourbon barrel aged gold ale. All right,
but it's not staying that way.
It's okay. Mike acts like this is news to him. He's like, "Oh, okay,
we talked about it,
right,
no, we're not going to talk anymore about it.
We're getting conspiratorial lies here. Like there's more here that we're not finding
the 1 year
out.
anniversary, and you'll find out. That's what the Craig's teasing you guys.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, something we didn't want to miss talking about because we think it's interesting. We haven't talked with other breweries about it. Oenobeer. Did I say that correctly? Oenobeer.
Yes.
And this is kind of a hybrid of a wine beer.
Yep.
Is that right? I tell you what, rather than me trying to misexplain it,
sure.
Mike or Craig, can one of you guys tell us about what an Oenobeer is?
I'll start, and then I'll hand it off to Craig, because actually I never knew what an Oenobeer was either. Scott and I were out at CBC last year. We were actually checking out some equipment at a brewery called Liberati. They brew these wine beer hybrids called Oenobeers. Every beer on there was some form of wine mixed with beer. We really liked them. We were a fan of them. So when we came back to Georgia, we said, one of the beers we have to brew is an Oenobeer. So the first beer we did, La Fontaine, was our first bottle release. Came in at 13.9. We brewed a Bach base with Merlot grapes. And we really liked that beer. And
I think it was Pinot Noir, but maybe.
Oh, Pinot Noir,
yeah,
you're right.
Yep.
Sorry. We've got other plans. Yeah, you're right. And then, but from that beer, when Craig came on, we said, we want to do some more things like this too. So right around when New Year's was rolling around, we got with Craig and he had the idea, let's do something like champagne beer. And I'll let you talk about that beer was Year of the Fox.
And just ironically, I had experience brewing those style of beers at Funky Buddha in Florida, so that I knew I had, the acumen to know how to execute it. And what we did is basically for this one, we just did a pale base, and we used Galaxy hops to kind of mimic that Sauvignon Blanc kind of aroma that you get with some of the New Zealand hops. And then we also used jasmine rice. And then we just did a basic beer fermentation. Then we added the Riesling grape must. And once the Riesling grape must was added, then we re-fermented it with champagne yeast. And it was also carbonated to a higher volume.
So what does the jasmine rice add like to the beer? Is it just dry it out?
Dry it out.
Dry it
adds
out?
extra starches.
Okay.
And to dry it out. Yeah, absolutely. And it does, once you get up around 10%, it does add some different flavors.
Okay.
BSG has a few products. They have a red rice, jasmine rice, and a wild rice. Depending on which one you use, you get different things. But you definitely dry out your beer. And I got that from a friend of mine from Green Bench Brewing.
Okay.
Who he has a beer called Thrice Rice. And I was just fascinated when he used that in a Saison. So I had always wanted to add that to a beer.
A rice Saison. Interesting. Is there any kind of hard and fast rules about these NO beers, like what they have to have? Is there like a ratio, or is it just kind of...
I don't think so. I think it's more about the finished product, and you still get to a final gravity. It's just about how you want to get there. We wanted to really dry our beer out because we were releasing it for New Year's and wanted it to be a champagne beer. But if you tasted La Fontaine, that beer would be more like drinking a Pinot Noir. And they're completely different beers, but they both have the same process, just different amounts of grape must added and different base beers that were brewed. So one is a Bock base and the other was more of a pale base.
Okay.
I'm curious how, because you're fermenting the grapes, the grape must, and it's part of the wort, correct?
No.
Okay.
So that's where we differ. So I basically let it almost come to full attenuation, and then I will add the grape must and revive some of the yeast from the sugars that I just re-added, and then I pitch the champagne yeast.
Okay. Interesting. Because I was just thinking one of the best beers I've had was an Imperial Chocolate Stout aged in Cabernet barrels.
Okay.
And just those flavors, the Cabernet with that deep, rich stout, that was really nice. So.
Yeah, and you can do it like either way. The barrel aging is going to be slightly different because of the oxygen that you are, over the course of the aging, where the way that we're processing our Oenobeers is closed to oxygen. So we don't have that issue.
So the idea with you let the original strain of yeast work its magic so you get everything it contributes to the beer separately. So if you added it too early, you wouldn't get the benefit of the second yeast, or is that not part of the equation? It just would be,
in my opinion, more unpredictable.
Oh, okay.
So I want the microbe that I pitched to ferment out so that I can know the sweetness, so that I can know where I fermented out. Then I can add the grape must and know what my new gravity is, and then repitch yeast so that I can get more of an accurate ABV and more of an accurate fermentation.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, something new to me. You know, it's cool to see new beer styles coming up. Or I imagine that's something that's been around for a while. I just didn't know about.
Probably. I'm guessing a lot of people over history have mixed the two.
Yeah, bringing wine and beer together. Not us, man. I'm just been drinking beer.
And when we say we bring it together, we really are just bringing together ingredients because we're still using Saccharomyces.
Good stuff. Well, guys, Social Fox Brewing, Norcross, Georgia, coming up on your 1 year anniversary. Thank you so much for joining us. If folks want to keep up with what you're doing, what's the best way to do that?
We're social media, and on our website, socialfoxbrewing.com, Facebook and Instagram at Social Fox Brewing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Coming up next week, Brian, it's the Saison Show.
Saisons.
We're going to have a good time with that. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.